Salute! You are listening to the Fallen Earth Podcast with me, Crow Bennett. The only podcast I know about Fallen Earth since every other podcast got nuked off the face of the planet or infected with the Shiva virus when global tech ruined it. The world, that is. I am your host, Crow Bennett, and we will be talking about all things Fallen Earth, the divergent community it was, came, and now remains a phantom shadow of its former self. We will talk about all things related to Fallen Earth, including things that are not specifically Fallen Earth related, such as large gaming communities that saw the large potential of the game and invested really hard and heavy early in the stages of this antiquated gem of an MMO. Since this is our first episode, let me set the stage and scenario of the Grand Canyon province, where Fallen Earth actually takes place, and give the logline introduction to what the original developers pitched. That's Icarus Studios, earlier, first developers, pitched in the early days. So here's their marketing pitch. Welcome to the apocalypse. It's 2156. I feel like I should do some kind of gruff voiceover. Welcome to the apocalypse. It's 2156, and the world has been destroyed by both nuclear and biological means. Your story takes place in one of the few habitable places left in the world, the Grand Canyon. As a clone with an uncertain past, your job is survival in a world now built on destruction, betrayal, and fragile factional alliances. Boy, ain't that the truth. Explore, harvest, and stake your claim to over 1,000 square kilometers of harsh and mysterious terrain. The classless advancement in non-linear gameplay allows you to play the character you want. Join a random dynamic event to capture resources and invade towns. Capture and hold a progress town. Fight through instances. Take part in the rich faction backstory. Or make a living by selling what you scavenge and craft on the auction house. Fallen Earth gives you the freedom to do exactly as you want. The world may be a shadow of its former self, but there's no limit to what's possible for you to accomplish. Icarus. So Icarus wrote most of that. I would say that the last part may have been edited with the progress towns and stuff. But a lot of that is Icarus. Early in the game. I'm starting this podcast the way that I started the game, by myself. I was a console player, and I went to Fallen Earth was my first MMO. So I soloed a lot. I did most things by myself. I did join a clan early on in alpha and beta called Drifters. And what I loved about Drifters was that it was just a tag. When you would join a clan, it'd have your name, and then if you were in a clan, the clan name was under your name. So this clan Drifters were kind of like roleplay NPC drifters, and the clan chat kind of reflected that. I'm pretty much just soloed and had a drifter tag. Occasionally did a few groups with some people from Drifters. Had some interesting interactions with some of the role-playing community in Drifters. But the notable things about Fallen Earth, back to the log line and the release date and all that, is that this was the first non-fairy, non-fantasy, no goblins uh, and dragons in an MMO. Um, Star Wars Galaxies even had dragons and stuff. So, uh, the uh, the launch, I gotta say, was pretty rough in the early days, and if you are uh, of an older player, a veteran player, then you'll know exactly what I'm talking about, because there would be times where it'd be 4 or 5 hours before you could log in. It was a high demand on your computer for that time. It was one of the most technologically advanced games, despite the fact that it was built in I say advanced. It wasn't advanced. It was taxing on a computer. The game was actually built with a corporate training, customer service rep training software that was an early sort of interactive, integrated simulation to deal with people. And so it didn't work out for them, but the Icarus obtained the engine and started tweaking it and making a game out of it. So in the future episodes, this is what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about, well, we'll talk about whatever the hell we want to talk about, because it ain't like there's a shitload of people listening to this anyway. But the the events that occurred in Fallen Earth, there's at one point in time there was a server population, daily server population of I could be very these numbers could be very off. Okay, but I'd say conservatively 20,000 a day, and liberally up to 40,000, or maybe even 50,000. Now that's numbers that CCP, who developed and are continuing to develop and have the longest running MMO in history, EVE Online. And there are some things in Fallen Earth that, given its first-person shooter angle and its number cruncher build min-max angle, and that would not really make you think that there would be crafting in the way that it exists in the game. To become a master crafter in all of the crafts can take years. So a lot of the SWG people, after the pre-CU, whether the pre-CU SWG people, which is pre-combat upgrades, meaning people who liked the system that was there, didn't want them to change it, and then the combat upgrade system kind of. I never played SWG, but and we'll have people here probably that will discuss that at some point. Like I said, starting the journey alone, just like I did in Fallen Earth. So I want to describe my experience as a single solo player, and explain how this experience changed the way that I thought about um, interactive communities, social networks, and stuff like that. In addition to just fun game stories, but there's a group of people all over the world who, at one point or another, have had an exile tag on the top of their head in Fallen Earth, or possibly in other games too. I want to talk about what that means, but that requires me to talk about my solo journey through the Grand Canyon. And I have all kinds of hindsight retrospective, of course, now, which is what would preoccupy me to be doing a podcast about Fallen Earth in 2022 when the game released in 2009. Exile has been around since 2010, and there's still activity. It's not like it used to be. We started Exile. Well, I started Exile, and then which was intended for me to go back to. I started Exile because I joined this guild in game, and there was some. Well, there's a whole story there that we'll get to. There's lots of stories. That's kind of what I'm getting at with this podcast. There's lots of stories, and these stories have been told over and over again in the chat rooms and voice over IP communication systems like Ventrilo and TeamSpeak and Raid Call and Mumble and Discord over the years. And a lot of times it's with great fondness and nostalgia when someone drops in and says, "Hey, you remember that time that we killed all the wolves of war, and then you walked over there, RP style, and said, 'Tell the other bears what you saw.'" And to most people, that doesn't mean jack shit, but which by the way, I will try to keep it clean as I can on this podcast. But some of the guests, it's over time, it's just not going to be possible. But I myself will be trying to keep it as clean as possible. I tend to use vulgarity obsessively, and I should use my better vocabulary. So that's pretty much the gist of this podcast, and I would like to officially